Hey, it's Shaun Furman here, and I'm here today with Guy Kawasaki for MMT TV, and I want to, get into your latest book,
All right.
and, author, speaker, entrepreneur. Why don't you give us a bit of the, overview of the book before we get into
Sure.
any specifics?
Sure. So let me tell you how I came to write this book. I had written a book called Enchantment, which was a very successful book, and so successful, someone wanted to buy 500 copies of the ebook version and give it to 500 different people. And come to find out, that is just not possible. You can't buy it from your publisher, or she couldn't buy it from my publisher directly. The publisher told her to go to Apple, the iBook store, or the Kindle bookstore, and have at it. And she did that, and she found out after much investigation, the only way to do it was to buy 500 ebooks one at a time and get the promo code for each ebook one at a time, which that was kind of like just amazed me that that's the best we could do, making somebody have 500 transactions on their credit card. And about the same time, I fell in love with Google Plus, and so I decided to write a book about Google Plus, and I self-published that because it was such a niche book, and I learned how hard it was to self-publish a book. And so that led me to write APE. And so APE stands for Author, Publisher, Entrepreneur. It's the three key stages of being a successful self-published author. You have to write the book, you have to publish the book, and then you have to entrepreneur or sell the book. And so this is a very tactical, practical, no illusions, no BS, no get-rich-quick way to self-publish a book.
Yeah. So when you were writing What the Plus,
Uh-huh.
what were those lessons that you were learning about
Well,
self-publishing?
I learned that it's very hard to go from Word to, a Kindle book or an iBook store book, um, particularly for a nonfiction author. As a nonfiction author, I had more than 100 pictures, therefore more than 100 captions. I had bulleted lists. I had numbered lists. I had tables. And to put it mildly, you can't have those things in Word, upload them to an online reseller, and magically they all appear correctly in your book. It just doesn't happen. And so I had to learn a lot about that. I finally found somebody who knew all that and could produce it for me. And I thought, as Steve Jobs would say, surely there must be a better way. And so this is for everybody who wants to write a book and get it out as clean and fast and cost effectively as possible.
Yeah. So what would you say to all the people that, watch this, who have an idea, who
Yeah.
have, all of the, a bunch of content,
Yeah.
who want to publish a book?
Uh, my advice is that now is a great time because ebooks are so accepted now. What you can do with Kindle and the iBook Store and Barnes and Noble and Kobo, the barriers to entry are very low. Now, that's good news, bad news, right? Because it's low, anybody can publish a book. But it's also good news because now you're not depending on six companies in New York, blessing you, and you have to suck up to those six companies or find someone who you pay to suck up to those six companies. So it's just the continued democratization of information.
Yeah. So what makes a successful self-published book versus an unsuccessful one?
Well, it might be luck. Uh, there are a lot of, there are some things that, you just can't take care of, right? So if you happen to write a book about a subject that just happens to come right into the news, right? So that's just plain dumb luck. But generally speaking, you have to write a good book, and that is a skill in and of itself. And then you have to have it professionally copy edited. You have to have a professional cover designer, and you have to market the hell out of it. Books don't just sell themselves, and a lot of authors don't realize that. That's probably the most difficult stage for authors to both understand and implement that. Um, Unless you want to be a starving author, you have to market your book. And believe it or not, that is true whether you are traditionally published or self-published. Right now, many traditional publishers, one of the most important questions that they ask a new author is, what is your marketing platform? And that's kind of asked backwards. I mean, the reason why you go to a traditional publisher is to capitalize on their marketing platform. And here, the person that's supposed to bring the marketing platform to you is asking you what your marketing platform is. Theoretically, the reason why you go with a traditional publisher, or one of the main reasons, is that they have a marketing platform. That's why they make 90% and you make 10%.
Yeah. So, in my conversations with different authors, different book publishers and marketers of books, they say
Mhm.
that you always need to start out with a following before you can sell a book and become successful at it. Now, do you agree with that?
Yes, yes. Now, I agree that you need a following. I do not agree that you have to, quote, start out with a following. So let's say the moment you decide to write a book, you have no book and you have no following, all right? So you're just pure novice. You have nothing but a good idea. Well, it'll take you probably a year to write a good book. All things considered, writing, copy editing, going back and forth, testing, all that stuff, laying it out, it'll take a year. So the thing is to know that the moment you start writing is the moment you start your building your marketing platform. You don't wait till the year is over and then say, oh, guess what? I discovered I need a platform, because making a platform takes about 6 to 9 months. So what you have to do is the moment you start writing, you start building a marketing platform. I came with a marketing platform, but the truth be told, it took me 30 years to get my marketing platform. So you need to do it in 6 to 9 months, and you need to strive for a total of about 5,000 followers on any combination of Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, or LinkedIn.
Yeah. Are you just 5,000?
I think 5,000 is critical mass. It happens that I have 5 million, but the reason why I have 5 million to a large degree is because I am a suggested person to follow on Google Plus. And so many people, as soon as they join Google Plus, they follow me, not really knowing who I am. So it's not really clear that, those people who are just clicking, yes, follow him, are really high quality followers, right? So 5,000 very good followers who voluntarily made the decision, intelligently made the decision, is a very powerful number.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. So why don't we talk about building a platform
Uh-huh.
in 6 to 9 months? So where would you start? Let's say you were starting over today.
Um, if I were going to start, well, it definitely depends on the genre. If I was writing a book about fashion, I would probably start at Pinterest. But for any other kind of book, I would start at Google Plus, because I just think the Google Plus, the format is better, the aesthetics of the site is better, the spam filtering that they do automatically, the integration of Google Plus into all search results and all the rest of the Google family. I would recommend Google Plus, but really you should do Google Plus, Twitter, and Facebook. And I believe that you can pretty much anything you post on Google Plus, you can post on Facebook, and you shorten it and you post it to Twitter. It might not be optimal, but it's good enough.
Yeah. So how do you go about building that community?
You go about building that community by posting great stuff, responding to people. Um, when people post, you also comment on their posts. And don't get me wrong, it's not rocket science, but it's also not trivial. It takes, I think, my recommendation is you write for 2 hours a day and you do social media for 2 hours a day, and so that's 4 hours a day. And a lot of people might say, I have a full-time job, guy. How do I do 4 hours a day? Well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it is not easy. And if I were to tell you anything else, it would be a lie. So I can either lie or I can tell you how hard it is. Those are the only two choices.
Yeah. Being active in social media is, it's essential because you're really getting out there. It drives traffic to your website, and
Yes.
ultimately it's going to be the thing that results in your sales. But
Yes.
2 hours a day minimum, it's a lot of work.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's a lot of work to be successful in life. Let's face it. So, I call this artisanal publishing, not self-publishing, because I believe it's a craftsperson really, controlling his or her content and cover and design. So let's look at the other artisanal things, right? So if you're an artisanal baker, if you're an artisanal winemaker, if you're an artisanal brewer, if you're an artisanal, anything, if you're an independent musician, if you're an independent film producer, every one of those things takes a lot of effort, right? I mean, you don't become an artisanal baker, brewer, or winemaker, or independent filmmaker because it's the easy path. You also don't take that path because you're a loser. You would never go up to an artisanal baker, brewer, or winemaker and say to that person, well, the reason why you're doing it by yourself, you have your own winery, you have your own brewery, you have your own bakery, is because you're a loser and you couldn't get a job at Gallo, or you couldn't get a job at a big brewery, or you couldn't get a job at, making Twinkies. So since you're a loser, you had to do it artisanally. You would never say that. You should never say that to an author either. It is a lot of work.
Yeah, and because it's a lot of work, you have to be passionate about the topic that you're talking about.
Yes,
And you've written
yes,
about a number of different topics.
yes. I have written 12 books now, and I started in 1987, so it's, my God, that's 26 years ago. So I guess I average a book every 2 years, and when I first wrote my book, The Macintosh Way, in 1987, I didn't think I had one book in me. And so now 26 years later, arguably I had 12 books in me. So you'd be amazed. It sort of consumes you. It's, you know what? It's like any other passion, like a person who's trying to be a musician, a person who's trying to be an artist. It's like any other passion. You don't, if you're going to be a musician, you don't just make one song and boom, it's platinum and you're rich. That's not how the world works. I mean, it would be nice if it did work that way. Don't get me wrong. So you just have to put it in terms of, it's just like being an artisanal anything else, or an artist, or a musician, or for that matter, a professional athlete. I mean, they say these instant successes in professional sports. Well, instant success. Well, the kids started playing football or soccer or hockey at age 3, and now they're 20. It's took 17 years. That's an instant success, right?
Yeah, 17 years in the making. So what
Yeah.
lights you up? What are you most passionate about? Now, we all know you online. We all, we think you're the cool uncle online. Everyone knows who you are. But what
That's
are
better than
you?
the cool grandfather. That's for sure.
Well, I don't think you're old enough to be a grandfather.
Well, you'd be surprised, but anyway, yeah.
But everyone sees you online. But what is it that really lights you up? Why do you
Um,
do what you do?
I really love hockey. Um, you being from Canada, you should understand
Go Jets,
that,
go.
right? Finally in the NHL, hallelujah, right?
Back.
Yeah, yeah, back, yeah.
I'm actually a
Um,
Vancouver fan, but
I I
that aside.
love I love cool stuff, cool websites, cool gadgets. I just love that kind of stuff. I especially love when it comes from startups who are, trying to change the world, don't know what they don't know, going for it. That just delights me.
So you go after that kind of thing.
Yes.
So that's been like the flow of your whole career then. You're a venture
Yes.
capitalist. You started with Apple, and you're
Yeah,
always posting about tech too.
you know, it's a tough act to follow when your first real job is the Macintosh division. It doesn't get better than that, ever.
Oh, you haven't made it better yet.
No, no.
Well, why don't we go back there? Because, you say that's the best act or the hardest act to follow. What were some of the key lessons that you learned working
Sure.
with Apple?
I learned that not everybody cares about design, but enough people care about design. I learned that true change occurs by jumping curves, not doing the same thing on the same curve, making a slightly better MS-DOS machine. I learned that most customers cannot express what they really need. They can tell you they want bigger, faster, cheaper, but they cannot tell you they want a Macintosh, which has no relationship to an Apple II. I also learned that A players hire A plus players, so that great employees hire employees even better than themselves. And I think those are some of the key lessons I learned at Apple.
Yeah, so over the time, how did you apply some of those lessons? You've obviously hired people that you would probably say are a lot smarter than you. Everyone who's successful
Well,
says that.
yeah, well, in my case, it's not that hard to hire somebody smarter than me, but uh, I I just have tried to, affiliate with products that had design, that somebody cared about the design and the user experience. I've tried to, affiliate myself with products that are not just better sameness, but really do change things. Uh, that's about it. I mean, it's a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah, when you say affiliate yourself with products that really do change things, what does that mean?
That means that it jumps the curve, that it does things differently, it empowers more people, it democratizes information, it makes people more creative or more productive, it improves their life. It's not simply about making a buck.
Yeah, so where do these deals come to you all the time, but if you're looking at a product, what's one of your favorite ones that does that?
Uh, well, in social media, I advise a company called Buffer, and what this does is it lets you schedule out your tweets and your Facebook and LinkedIn updates. And sounds like a simple thing, but if if you happen to be in a different time zone from your usual readers, or if you happen to know that you're going to be on a 12-hour flight and you want to schedule stuff during that 12-hour flight, then you use Buffer and you write your tweet in advance. You upload the picture and Buffer will send it out at the time that you send it, that you want it to be sent. And that is very useful for someone in social media. So it's stuff like that, very high utility.
Yeah. Well, what would make that different from something, say, like Hootsuite?
Um, well, it is in the same. Well, Hootsuite is really meant for an enterprise team to manage social media. A buffer is more of a tool for a smaller group or an individual. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of an enterprise, software solution of Hootsuite. It's more, it just does one thing really, really well, which is schedule social media posts.
Yeah, okay. Do you have another example that you can pull out of your wealth of experience of, taking a lesson that you learned at Apple and applying it throughout your career?
Huh. Well, I hope all my books do this. I pay a lot of attention to the cover design and the interior design. I try to write in a very, very simple way. You'll see that I use a lot of bulleted lists and numbered lists. I love those things. I like to do it very consistently. Most of my bulleted list starts with an action, a verb. So I've tried to inculcate the spirit of the elegance of Macintosh into my writing.
Yeah, great. So another thing that I wanted to talk about are what are some of the ideas that you've pursued that haven't gone the way that you know, let's talk about failures. Any ideas
Oh.
that you've taken that haven't worked, but lessons that you've learned from that?
Well, I have invested in companies that have failed. A company called BitPass that was trying to create an online payment system so that people could buy digital content. That company was too early. At that time, everybody still wanted the advertising model. So believe me, um, I have made many, many mistakes in my career. Uh, you could make the case that Macintosh was not a success because it only achieved 5% market share. The world to this day is 95% Windows. So, maybe I'm a failure there too. Pretty good failure, but, it's still a failure. So there's
Well, that was a revolution.
yeah, but and actually that's a very astute statement because lots of revolutions don't become mainstream, right? I mean, there was a lot of action in Arab Spring, but have those countries really changed, right? I mean, similar kind of situation. Definitely a lesson that I learned that, in a sense, the revolution is easy. It's setting up the government that's hard.
So what are some of the things that you would like to see more of, in business in the world today from business owners?
Uh, I would love to see more elegance. That uh, just many, many websites. I look at it and I just say, how could you possibly have done things this way? I mean, how can you throw this impossible to read CAPTCHA in front of me as the first step for me to become your customer, knowing that most people are going to fail this CAPTCHA test? How can you put up a website that it's there's so many elements that all look about the same in terms of attention. I have no idea where to go. And it's just this lack of empathy or lack of elegance in design. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, that's something that drives me crazy as well. I
Yeah.
mean, I come from a design background. I love design
Uh-huh.
and try to surround myself with art. And I'm a musician, so I want things in my life to be elegant as well.
Uh-huh.
Is so what's one thing that people can do to, become, I'm not saying go out and find a designer to do it, to just become more aware of elegance and design.
Well, in I'll give you some specific environments. In PowerPoint, for example, if everybody said to themselves, the smallest font I'm going to use is 30 points, that single-handedly would make PowerPoint better because it would force people to put so little text on every slide. They would have to find just the essence of the slide and not put the whole sentence or the whole paragraph, right? So that would be a very simple thing. Another very simple thing would be on every screen of every app and of every website, your eye should be drawn to one thing. There should be one dominant thing that, you look at that page, you say, okay, that's where I'm supposed to look. Not there's a 20-way tie for where I should look. I think just those two things would just help. And if in doubt, use more white space. I love white space. It's part of the reason why I love Google+.
Yeah, it's so easy to see, and it's very apparent where you're going.
Yep.
But I want to ask that question in a different way because I don't think I asked
Okay.
it correctly. I mean to have a better understanding of design,
Yeah.
not just on the web, but in life, in our day-to-day lives. Like this device here
Yep.
revolutionized how we interact,
Yes.
mobilely.
Yes.
And it's a design piece. People don't buy this because, arguably the Galaxy S3 is better.
Yeah.
But from a design feature, from a fashion statement, from a design perspective, this device is far better. So how can
I
you
might
become?
debate. I might debate you on some of that, but okay, I understand your point. Um, well, one path is to have a just genius CEO. That was the Apple path, right? Of course, you can't exactly write that down as your tactic, right? Oh, guy said find genius CEO. How hard could that be? Well, there's only been one Steve Jobs, so I think a lot. A very good test, particularly for men, well, actually only for men, although, I support same-sex marriage, would be to ask your wife. If you ask your wife what she thinks of something, I believe wives, they just cut through the BS and they will really tell you. Um, so now if you're a woman and not a lesbian, so you don't have a wife, I don't know what to tell you. But if you're a man and you have a heterosexual wife, then ask your wife. Although a man asking another man, I don't know, it gets very tricky. Americans are so concerned about being politically correct. We have to cover all the bases, right? But the general statement is ask your wife. Your wife is a very good judge of whether something is good or not.
Or how about just ask a woman?
Ask a woman is good, yes. I would say ask a man is not as good because I have this theory that men have a genetic predisposition to want to kill things. It's the hunter-gatherer gene, right? So when you ask a man, should I start a company to do this? Should I have a product to do this? Should I try to compete by doing this? A man will always say yes to everything because men love to kill stuff. Women, by contrast, they don't have this genetic flaw of wanting to kill stuff. So when you ask a woman about something, I think it's much more likely to get a good and usable response.
Yeah, I found a useful question to go along with that is, what does this make you feel? When I look
Yeah,
at a design, I want to, what does it make me feel when I look at that design?
yeah.
Do I feel like this person's a scumbag or do I feel like I can trust them? Are they doing something that's interesting and cool or is it just, you know, just what everyone else is doing?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're coming close to the end of the call here, but
Okay.
Guy, I just wanted to ask, what would you say to aspiring entrepreneurs out there? How can they use
Hmm.
social media today? Actually, I'm going to rephrase that. I'll edit this part out. I gotta write that down. What time is that? 26:39. All right. So this is the second time I've done it. All right, guys. So let's talk about.
Yes.
Time's a char. Okay. So we're getting close to the end of the call here, but Guy, what would you say to aspiring entrepreneurs out there who haven't yet started? What advice would you give them?
Okay. So my advice to you is not to build a PowerPoint presentation. Well, we'll do that too. So my advice to this aspiring entrepreneur is not to focus on building a PowerPoint presentation, not to write a Microsoft Word business plan, not to do a Excel financial projection. My advice to you, the most important thing you can do is build a prototype. Get your prototype and get it out and see if people like it. That's the most important thing you can do. And if you do that well and people like it, believe me, making a pitch and writing a business plan and doing a financial forecast is easy. The hard part is the prototype. If you do that, the rest is easy. If your prototype sucks, then your plan, your forecast, and your pitch are all going to be BS. So the key is make a prototype.
All right. Thanks so much, Guy, for being on the call today. And
Thank
we're going to
you.
link up your books below.
Okay?
And I hope to see you next time.
All right. Take care.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to like, share, and comment below. Subscribe to this channel for more interviews, and if you want to go further and be live on the interviews, you can go to mmt.tv/live to find out how. Like on Facebook and follow on Twitter to ask your questions, and be sure to get on the mailing list. Go to mmt.tv to get access to all the things that are not contained in these interviews. All the links are mentioned below, and until next time, break the rules, change the game, and be a rock star.